I'm looking very Kennedy-esque, aren't I?
Yeah.
My hair is looking very. So that's a good thing about the quarantine. I haven't had a haircut in weeks, and I got a full, flush head of hair.
It looks nice. I like it.
So you know what I was thinking today is because I was watching the Andy Cuomo show. You ever watch that Andy Cuomo show?
It's my favorite show.
Ah, it's a great show, and he gets like George Gobel. He gets good guests. George Gobel and
he's a get.
yeah. It's a great show. And so I was watching the Andy Cuomo show, and he was doing this whole bit. He was doing this whole bit about how the shelter in place is going to go on for another month. It was this whole let's keep this going until May 15th sketch he was doing. And so I was thinking, well, gee, it's a good thing because it's me and you and our teenage son.
That's right.
And I was thinking, boy, it's a good thing we got a big apartment, or else there'd be like a murder-suicide on the front page of the Post. No, but do you remember right before all this started? See, we have a very big apartment. I'm not bragging. It's a huge apartment. We live in a very, very, very large New York apartment.
That's right.
And because we used to have a lot of people here, But remember, just before the pandemic started, and you were saying, it's just us now. We're just because we got the 3 older kids out of the house.
Right.
So we're down to just the youngest one, our 14-year-old, and just the 3 of us. What do we need all this space for? Let's move into a smaller apartment.
That's right.
Remember? And I was saying, gee, honey, I don't know. It's kind of nice to have a big apartment, have some room to move around in. And you said, no, we don't need it anymore.
That's what I said.
You said, no. It's not like we're in quarantine in some kind of global pandemic or something, and we're all stuck together. Let's get out of here. Let's get a smaller place. So we went to get a smaller place. Remember you said that?
I guess.
You said it's not like we're all shut in here because of some kind of global pandemic. What the hell do we need all this space for? Remember when you said that?
I guess so. Yeah.
And then we went to get a smaller place, and then that whole deal fell through. And so now, thank goodness, because here we are in the big apartment. And it's probably just as well because I didn't want to move anyway.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't. It's a big pain in the ass, the packing and the moving. And Susan and I were both city kids, from New York City.
That's right.
Our whole lives. And then about 19 years ago or so, you started having all these babies, and we had to move out. We had to leave the city. We had too many babies. There's a law in New York. You can't have too many babies.
That's right.
So we were stacking them up like cordwood in the apartment. So we had to go buy a little house in the suburbs,
Right.
And then we sold the house because the kids had grown up, and then we moved back into the city.
The old switcheroo.
And when you move to the suburbs, the problem with moving to the suburbs is when you do that, all your friends back in the city, they tend to look down at you, They sneer at you. They say things like, oh, well, I could never leave the city. Why, here in the city, if I need a quart of milk at 3 o'clock in the morning, all I got to do is leave my apartment, walk across the street, boom, I got me a quart of milk. Boy, that's some exciting city life you got there, huh, Sparky? Look at you walking into stores at all kinds of crazy hours, buying quarts of milk. If you're buying milk at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not an indication of the freedom of city life. It just means you've poorly planned out your dairy purchases for the day. If you're buying milk at 3 a.m., there's some kind of peculiar combination of insomnia and lactose craving going on, and you might want to seek medical assistance for that, because
That's true.
or that's a psychological issue. Who are these milk craving vampires in the city? 4 o'clock in the morning, wandering around craving milk. What do they do? What do they do at 4:30 in the morning when the stores run out of milk? Huh? Are they down at the docks buying the black market milk, unpasteurized? The same people who say that to you. They sneer. Yeah. They also say, "Oh, well, I could never leave the city. Why? I'd miss all the culture. All the culture we have." Yeah, like they're out at the ballet and the opera every night of their lives.
That's right.
I know these people. They're doing the same thing in the city that people in the suburbs do. They're sitting on the couch watching the Real Housewives of Secaucus. That's what they're doing.
It's true.
It's true. And then we moved to the suburbs and we bought a little house.
Right.
And then all the people in the suburbs come around, because they're going to help out the idiot kids from the city. They're going to give us the advice on how to do things. Our first night in the suburbs, we're sleeping in the bedroom, and I hear this tremendous cacophony. Our house backed up on a ravine in the suburbs.
Like the woods, right?
Yeah, and there was a ravine, and there was woods, and we're lying in bed the first night we're there, and there's this I hear, and so I wake up, and I do what any good city New Yorker would do. I open a window, I go, who the f*** is that? Get the hell out of here! I got a gun, I'll shoot your ass, you know. And then, of course, the next day, it turned out it was raccoons who had broken into the garbage, and from that, and we lived there about 15 years, and our neighbors were terrified of me.
Yeah,
From that moment on, they thought I was a lunatic. But then they come around the first day we were there. They come around. And they said, "Oh, here's what you do. Well, your new house. Little advice: when you go on vacation, leave the light on in the house. See, that way people think you're still home, and they won't break into your house." So my first question is, what neighborhood did we move in here that this is such a major concern? But is that really, that's a big help, because that 60-watt bulb is an all-purpose criminal repellent cloaking device for your home. Like the crooks are out in the bushes and they're casing out your house, and they see that, they go, ooh, Rocco, let's get out of here. He's got a lamp. You like how I named the criminal Rocco? So, let's say, apparently this anecdote took place on the Warner Brothers lot in 1930. And you know what that means, honey?
What?
That means it's time for the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live.
Oh my gosh.
This is our daily show. We do it every day at 6 p.m. And with my lovely co-host, the Bride of Konig, seated a mere 6 feet social distance away from me, Susan Konig is here.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Of course, is Susan Konig's copyrighted catchphrase. That's her big catchphrase. And then her runner-up choice was, "I have a very sharp knife. Get away from me." Which is something Susan actually said to me in the kitchen today, not more than an hour or so ago.
It's true.
It's true. I want to quote that again. "I have a very sharp knife. Get away from me." And that's a loving married couple 5 weeks into quarantine. All right. Joining us on the show, we have the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players featuring Kevin, the big breakout star.
Oh my God.
He's the wise guy. He's the young punk. He thinks he's going to be the big breakout star. And, of course, the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players and the Dave Konig Dancers with our dance captain Gladys.
Yes.
Gladys is 86 years old, but she's a trooper.
Yes.
She won't stop dancing. She had all her knees, her hips, and her entire skeletal structure removed.
Wow.
Including her skull. She's just like plasma now. She's like a jar full of goo. And but neither of them are going to be on the show today.
Oh, wow.
Here's what happened. I'm talking to Kevin and Gladys not long ago, just this morning, going over a little, we're having a little show meeting.
Yeah.
Can you, Jan, you say hi to the people, because I don't have time. I'm on a roll here. You just say hi to these people. So I'm talking to Gladys and Kevin.
Yeah.
And I say, what are you going to do for the show today? And Kevin, you know what Kevin says?
What?
He says, we're not doing the show. I said, what do you mean you're not doing the show? He says, we're going out to Michigan to protest against the government, man.
Oh, dear.
I said, really? He said, what that? He said, we're going to go protest all the shutdowns and the He says, because this whole coronavirus thing is a hoax. It's a big hoax set up by the government to take away our guns. I said, Kevin, what the hell are you talking about? He said he saw the whole thing on One America News Network.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, really? He said, yeah. You know what? That's Kevin's favorite. He spends the whole day watching One America News Network.
That explains a few things.
That's the new news network. That's even Trumpier than Fox.
Okay.
It's Trump's favorite network. He's always tweeting about it.
Okay.
And I think that's their slogan, actually. We're Trumpier than Fox.
Well, that's a good slogan.
So he said they explained it all on One American News Network. It's all a hoax. It's all a conspiracy. I said, Kevin, the acronym for what? I said, let's break this down, Kevin. I said, first of all, the acronym for One American News Network is ONAN, which is the biblical term for getting busy with that deck of French postcards you found in your father's dresser drawer.
Wow.
I said, so basically, you're just engaging in a little mental masturbation, aren't you?
Oh, my goodness. Then what happened?
And then I also offered the advice that I just unsolicited. I said, if you're going to start a news network, do one that doesn't have an acronym that means, getting busy with French postcards.
Oh my gosh, I think that's good advice.
And you know what Kevin said? He said, they told me you'd say that. So, all right, I don't know what to do with that boy.
I don't know either.
Also on the show today, big guest. We're very excited about this. Martin Luther King Jr. III will be here. He is the great-grandson of Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay.
And he's not in the civil rights movement at all.
Okay.
He's actually a beet farmer. He's an online beet farmer.
Oh my gosh.
From Kenosha, Wisconsin. He runs some kind of online beet service.
That's interesting.
Beets.org or beets.com or something. You can register there. They send you different kinds of beets every week or something.
Beets are very popular.
And do you know how Martin Luther King Jr., of course, had a dream?
Yes.
And it was his dream that someday all men would live together in peace and harmony, regardless of the color of their skin.
Yes.
Our guest tonight, Martin Luther King Jr. III, also had a dream. It was his dream that he suddenly found himself on stage in a big Broadway show, and he didn't know any of his lines.
Oh my God.
He had missed all the rehearsals, and for some reason he had no pants, and everyone was staring at him, and he didn't know what to do.
Well.
And then he was like in a big dark corridor, and he was being chased by a giant anchovy. That was his dream.
That is some dream.
That's some dream. So Martin Luther King Jr. III will be on to tell us all about his dream. And what else we got? Oh, I want to plug this because Saturday night.
The day after tomorrow.
The day after tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Dave Konig Facebook page. I'm going to do a 1-hour stand-up comedy special, and this will be a benefit. We're going to bill it as a benefit for COVID first responders.
Yes.
So we'll put up the website for healthresearch.org. It's the official New York State 501c3 to help out the first responders, the healthcare workers.
Yep.
Or you can donate to the first responders charity of your choice.
Yeah, we just want to put it out there.
We just want to put it out there. And I'm going to we're going to call it live from Dave Konig, live from quarantine.
Yes.
One man, 1 hour of comedy, one laptop, no audience. So,
Well, one wife, one knife.
yeah, one wife with one knife will be here. So it'll be tremendously awkward for me, but hopefully entertaining for you. So please tune in at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time for that.
People can't wait. They're very excited.
I'm excited that people are excited. Brad Bellamy is watching. Go on, Brad. Here's what you want to do. Because you got nothing better to do. Trust me. Where are you going? You got nothing to do. You want to go on Brad Bellamy's Facebook page.
After this.
After this. Not now. Stay with me, but then go to Brad. Brad Bellamy is an old sketch comedy partner of mine and a wonderfully talented man. And he did this very, very hilarious thing of it's a litigious version of Jack and the Beanstalk. And you gotta if you're a lawyer or if you're not a lawyer, if you got a kid, you gotta watch it. It's funny as hell.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I was just watching it. It's great. All right, so here's the deal, honey.
Yeah,
We did Show Business Anecdote Week.
yes,
It was so successful.
it was.
And by the way, if you missed it, go on the Facebook page, The Dave Konig Show Streaming Live, and watch all the old reruns of me doing my shocking anecdote of me and Carol Burnett.
Right. Oh, that was great.
Shocking. Me conning my way into a starring role in a Broadway musical.
So funny.
Shocking. Me, a Jew comic, getting hired by the Catholic Church to becoming a national spokesman for the church and then getting fired, probably when they figured out I was a Jew. Shocking. What else was shocking? Jerry Lewis.
Oh my God.
My shocking encounters with Jerry Lewis.
That's right.
Very shocking.
That was a two-parter.
That was so shocking it was a two-parter.
Yeah. Steven Spielberg.
My shocking encounter with Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Shocking.
Your first time on stage.
My first time on stage. Shocking. On stage doing stand-up.
Well,
Because I was a child actor. I've been doing this since I was 10. But my first time on stage doing stand-up.
Stand-up.
Big movie star shoved me on stage, said you got to get out there.
Very exciting.
And very exciting.
Mrs. Maisel.
My shocking story of me on Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, 2 episodes.
Right, so a lot of shocking true show business anecdotes. Tonight, my shocking encounter with the great actor Steve Buscemi.
Oh, that's a good.
All right, so one day I'm sitting at home. Here's what happened. I'll tell you what happened. I'm minding my own business, because I don't get in other people's business.
No.
I mind my own business.
That's right.
And that's what I was doing on this fateful day. And I get a call from my agent, and I was excited because I didn't even know he had a phone. So my agent calls me up and says, Dave, I got an audition for you. I said, that's great. I said, fantastic. I love going on an audition. I said, what's it for? And my agent says, Boardwalk Empire. I said, oh, Boardwalk Empire. It's my favorite show.
Right?
Remember Boardwalk Empire? It was on HBO. It was the best show. It was all about the mob that ran Atlantic City back in the 1920s. It was fantastic.
Very cool.
And Steve Buscemi, who I think is one of the great actors.
Pretty good.
Who doesn't love Steve Buscemi? I mean, if there's anyone watching who doesn't love Steve Buscemi, get the hell out of here. Thank you very much. So everyone loves Steve Buscemi, including me. So I go, oh, Steve Buscemi, I can't wait. I said, what's the part? And my agent says, reporter number 2. I said, reporter number 2? It's not even reporter number 1. He said, are you kidding? A man of my stature, I should go audition for reporter number 2? Are you out of your mind? I didn't actually say this to my agent, but internally I said.
Right.
So I go on the audition, and it's a couple of lines, and it's like there's a boxing expedition of some kind, and I'm a reporter ringside yelling questions up at the boxer. It's like, hey champ, how do you like your eggs? Whatever the hell. I don't even remember. So. All right, I go do the audition at the casting director's office, and then I leave. I leave and I go home. I'm sitting at home, minding my own business, when suddenly I get another call from my agent. And the agent says, Dave, good news. I said, why? I love good news. What's the good news? The good news is you got a callback. A callback for reporter number 2? I got to go all the way back in and do that again. They can't cast it based on my initial audition. It was like one line. What are you talking about? A callback? A man of my stature? Are you kidding me? So, and then the agent says, oh, and the callback, see, the initial audition was at the casting director's office in Manhattan.
Sure.
And I said, and the agent says, but don't go to the same place for the callback. I said, where's the callback? The callback's at Steiner Studios. I said, where's Steiner Studios? This was a few years ago. I said, where's Steiner Studios? The agent says, it's the old Brooklyn Navy Yard. I said, are you kidding me? A man of my stature? I got to schlep all the way out to the Brooklyn Navy Yard? That's a subway and a bus and a schlep, like a cab, 2 buses and a blimp to get there. Are you serious? I didn't actually say this, but if I had actually said what I was thinking, I would have said it. So I go on the callback, right? I take a bus to the subway. The hours go by. No. So now I get on another bus, and I'm out. I'm almost to the and I call, and I'm so aggravated by this schlep, this horrible schlep.
Yeah.
And the indignity, a man of my stature.
Oh my goodness.
So I call up a buddy of mine on the way to the audition, a man by the name of Joe Sharkey.
Oh yeah.
Great name. What a great show business name, Joe Sharkey. He's an actor. He's a writer. He's an older fellow. He's about 10 years older than me. And I call him up, and I said, Joe, I'm all aggravated. He said, I'm just aggravated. He says, why? What's the matter, Dave? Why are you aggravated? I said, well, I got to schlep out to the Brooklyn Navy Yard. The Brooklyn Navy Yard. For one line as reporter number 2, a man of my stature. Are you kidding me? And Joe says, well, if it makes you feel any better, the last time I was at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, they shipped me off to Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I get the job. I get the job, and now I got to go and do the one line on the Boardwalk Empire. So here's the scene. So the scene is, thank you. I know that's a funny punchline, but wait, there's more. I see all the smiley faces, which I guess is the quarantine equivalent of applause and love. That's fantastic. But there's more. So now I got the gig. Okay, so we're shooting the scene. Here's the scene. It's a boxing ring, right? Outdoors on the beach, okay? I think it's supposed to be Atlantic City, but we're shooting in Far Rockaway out in Queens. And in the boxing ring is, who was the big champ in the 1920s? Was it Dempsey? Yeah. No, not Jack Dempsey. Max Schmeling, the German guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Whoever the hell the heavyweight champ was in the 1920s. I should have looked it up before I started this story. Max Schmeling. Yeah. And anyway, he's in the ring because he's going to have a big fight at Steve Buscemi's casino, like in a couple of weeks, and this is the promotional exposition to drum up publicity. So he's going to fight a French boxer. So for the exposition, for the promotion, they got him in the ring, and they got a midget. They got a little French midget, right?
Oh my gosh.
Which I think you're not supposed to say. That's politically incorrect. But he was French, so what else can I say? He was from France. He was French.
Well, you're allowed to say French.
Oh, you're allowed to say French.
Yes.
It's the midget part that I'm getting. So he's a little guy, and he's wearing a black and white stripe, and he's got a beret and a baguette, and he's got little boxing gloves on. And, he's a little guy, and so it's comedy.
Yeah, they had no political correctness.
No, the whole thing's set in 1920. Yeah. So, and I'm yelling up to the hey champ, how do you like your eggs? Right. Hey champ, bada. So, and then on the other side of the ring is Steve Buscemi, right, the star.
Right.
And he's talking to the boxing manager, the manager of the boxer, who happened to be played by an actor, a New York actor who's a friend of mine, good guy, Ralph Byers. Okay, great actor. Great character actor, has done a lot of work. Ralph Byers. So Ralph and Steve Buscemi are on the other side of the ring. I'm on this side of the ring over here. we're shooting at about 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like we got there. Yes, a little tiny person about this big. I'm being corrected. And we're shooting, and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
It's the crack of dawn. And they're on the other side. So they shoot my side of the scene with me yelling up questions at the champ, right?
Yeah.
Takes about 45 minutes. And we do 3 or 4 takes. 5 or 6 takes. 6 or 7 takes. It took about 12 takes. But every take, they stop, and what they do is no one says a word to me. You know, hey, champ, bada, 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 bada. No one says anything to me. They just, every time they stop, it's just for the boxer's choreography.
Okay.
So the guy says, hey, listen, your hand got in the way of the camera. You can punch him like this way instead of that way. You know, so it's all about their choreography.
Right.
So no one's saying anything to me. So I'm assuming I'm doing an okay job.
Sounds like you.
I guess.
Yeah.
So now the assistant director, right? At one point, we do the scene. We finish our 12th take or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And she comes over, and there's a lot of people there, so there's a lot of noise. People are talking. I've really got to go to the bathroom. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're out in Far Rockaway. The men's room is like way on the other side of the beach. And, you know, I've had coffee and water and all this stuff. And, you know, nature's calling.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nature is calling.
No one is judging.
No one judges a man who has a bladder, right? Okay. So I want to get going, you know. And the director, the assistant director, she yells something in our direction. I can't hear a word she's saying. So I go around to the other side of the ring, where Ralph is standing with Steve Buscemi, right? And I say to Ralph, because I know him, I say, Ralph, what did she just say? And Ralph says, she said your side of the scene, you know, is done. You're done. And now they're going to turn the cameras around, and they're going to shoot our side of the scene with me and Steve walking out of the ring and talking. He said, but you're good. And I said, just a natural comment. I said, oh, great, because I really got to pee. And for some reason, I really got to pee. Just that human thing for that moment. Steve Buscemi, he smiled. He smiled at me. He thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Guy's got to pee.
Yeah.
So Steve Buscemi smiled at me. So, of course, in my brain, I go, oh, we're best friends. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's his show. I'm going to go talk to him right now. So I go up to him and go, hey, Steve, I got a great story to tell you. Because, you know, now I got a bond with him. He's my best buddy. And I tell him the whole story I just told you. And it took about as long as it's taking me to tell you this story. And I say, Steve, I get a call, and I get the audition, and I go, one line, a man of my stature, and then I get on a bus. I go to a bus, Brooklyn Navy, Joe Sharkey, Vietnam, and I get to the punchline, and I go, and then Joe says to me, he goes, yeah, the last time I was at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, they shipped me off to Vietnam. And Steve Buscemi goes, yeah, well, I guess that kind of puts it in perspective.
It's true.
And I said, I gotta go. And I ran to the bathroom. And I was convinced, of course, that he was on the phone to Hollywood. Yeah. Get me Hollywood. Dave Konig never works again. The man spoke to me on the set, told me a long anecdote. He never works in this town again.
Oh my God.
He certainly never works on Boardwalk Empire again. And he was right. I never did.
Well, that was just a coincidence.
Oh, and then, because I spoke to him, I'm sure he did this. If you watch the episode I'm in, you can't even see me. You hear my voice, but the camera kind of swirls past me really fast. You don't even see me.
Everybody knew it was you.
Yes,
Your voice.
but he's a delightful man and a great actor, and that's my Steve Buscemi story. I hope you enjoyed it.
That's a goodie.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay for me and show business.
Well, if it wasn't 6:24, we could do more.
It's 6:24. I killed 24 minutes with that story. That story was hardly worth 20. That was strictly a 22-minute story. Hey, we got to go. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We hope you're getting a few chuckles out of this every day. Tell your friends. Share it. Oh, we got to thank some people. There's a lot of people sharing this with their friends on Facebook.
I know. It's great.
Joanna Gass is sharing this.
Yeah.
And many others. David Meeker is sharing the show.
Yeah, and
A lot of people share the show.
yeah, and people are having watch parties.
Watch parties are
Heather
happening.
Thornton is having watch parties.
Heather Thornton is having a watch party. That's really nice. So thank you for sharing this with your friends. I hope everyone's getting a few chuckles out of it. And we'll be back tomorrow with more quarantine comedy right here on The Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live with Creepy Sea Captain Guy. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.